On this episode of Halftone Takes, we talk about the entire Studio Ghibli filmography. Adam calls the horny police, and Corey salutes to the true pimp, Gary Oak.
Gary motherfucking Oak.
Gary motherfucking Oak.
My master, Gary Oak is a fucking pimp.
He's so fucking good with the names.
Welcome to Halftone Takes, high contrast conversations where we zoom out to see the bigger picture. I am one half of your host, Corey Rebus, aka the Big O. It's showtime.
Big O.
And this is...
And I am your other co-host, Adam Bucheri, and this is what I sound like as a normal podcaster. But this is what it sounds like to podcast beyond podcasting.
It's going beyond.
Incredible.
Don't do it, Goku.
Adam, no.
No.
Just scream it. That's the entire podcast. Just screaming into the mic.
I know.
Yeah.
But we are starting off on brand because what's our topic today, Corey?
And our topic is anime.
Anime.
What is it anyway?
Hey, Corey, quick question. What the fuck is anime?
Hey, quick answer. I don't know what the fuck it is either.
We are being flippant, of course. But this week's episode is about how that definition was once something like concrete and specific and now has become very hazy to the point where, like, does the definition even mean anything anymore?
Yeah. Like, I honestly, it's so nebulous now because there's so many different things that fit the anime, like, I guess, medium, but at the same time, it's just like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense because then this is an anime and it's live action and it stars Vin Diesel. What is this?
Gonna get into the weeds about Fast and Furious one of these times.
One of these days. I mean, you might as well just talk about straight up Michael Bay at this point because half of his stuff is nothing but anime nonsense. So,
I don't know if I could get behind that definition. It is certainly wacky bullshit for sure.
I don't know. Some of that Transformers nonsense is straight up anime in the worst way possible. So it's like the worst mecha. And I was like, oh
man.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. What is even anime? That is question one, legit. So what do you define anime as, or is, or what you want it to be, or what everybody else says it is?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like genuinely defining this is incredibly difficult, and it becomes more difficult every year because what it used to be. So something that I talk about is like the difficulty of taxonomy in general. For example, someone's like, what's a Metroidvania? What's a Souls-like? And like the closest that I can come up with is like, it's a loose collection of mechanics, aesthetics, and values. Where it's just like, Hollow Knight doesn't play anything like Dark Souls. However, it's got the spirit of the thing, you know? It's got the vibes. And so
Really? I would have thought that was a Metroidvania for sure.
Well, it is also a Metroidvania because that's a more strict mechanical framework definition. Yeah. But like, I contest that like Hollow Knight is almost the only game aside from Dark Souls to capture what is special about Dark Souls. And it's not because it has combat where your actions are assigned to the shoulder buttons and you have a stamina bar. And like there are some game companies that seem to feel like that's what makes Dark Souls, what it's not. You know, that's a very surface element read. So when it comes to the question of what is anime, it's like, oh, is it animation that's produced in Japan? Well, a lot of these shows are outsourced to Korea or to other countries. So it's like, well, that can't quite be the definition. What about something like The Legend of Korra, which clearly has that aesthetic, but is primarily all of the creative work is developed in the United States? Does that fall under the umbrella? If that's true, is King of the Hill anime?
Yeah. Which man, I've heard that question before. Like, I've actually heard that before.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah.
like it's a rhetorical question on the same level of like, is cereal soup?
Yeah. Or a hot dog a sandwich.
Yeah, where it's like we can sit here arguing taxonomy all day, but like, do we get any closer to a greater truth? Do we get any closer to understanding? It's really difficult to say, like genuinely so. So for me, like anime is a loose collection of aesthetics and values where there's a certain look to it. There's a way that things move. It's usually animation that's outsourced to an Asian country, but that's really much more for price reasons than for anything else.
Yeah.
And so like I'm not sure how valuable that is. And then, you know, in the green room you were talking about like French animation, which can take a lot of that same aesthetic and
them people are crazy
vibe.
over there. Those people are crazy over there.
What about something like Arcane?
Yeah.
Like that is not adhering to the traditional aesthetic necessarily, and it's pushing the visuals in its own direction like very strongly, but at the same time, like, look at those fight scenes, man. Look at those
Well,
the way they animate those effects impacts. Like that's gotta be in the conversation.
well, also does it, because then you bring up a good point too of, does the action scenes and how they animate action and stuff define it as anime? Because
And the answer is, of course, no, because there's tons of animes that aren't about action scenes.
yeah, I would I don't know if you saw this movie yet, but I would say Intergalactic
Oh, sure.
has a lot of anime influence in it. Kid Cudi's animated movie, which is fantastic, but that is straight up anime in my opinion. It's very soft. It's like not really actiony at all. It's definitely just some rom-com. But at the same time, I'm like, how that's animated and how all this stuff looks is really good. And his style, you're talking about, man, that movie is stylish as hell. So, yeah.
What about live action?
Yeah.
Like, we've talked about Pacific Rim. We've talked about Speed Racer. But also, like, I haven't seen the movie because, weirdly, I've never seen any film that's related to the Rocky franchise. But there have been multiple interviews with Michael B. Jordan stepping behind the director's chair for Creed 3 and him talking about all the anime influences that he brings to the film.
I bet, like, Baki and all that kind of stuff. Oh, man. That, now I can see it. Because I haven't seen Creed 3, but I have seen 1 and 2. So I love those. Those movies are great. Actually, those movies are great.
I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, I grew up on Rocky too because my dad liked them, and I didn't watch all of them. I eventually did after a long time, but mostly it was just Rocky 3 and 4, and I was like, cool, fun, I like it. So
to answer the question,
we don't know.
As best as I can, with the most sincerity in the world, I'm going to say that anything that is a production that predominantly is in Japan and it like is unquestionably anime. Like if it's an animated show that the production is primarily in Japan, then it's definitely anime. And then the hazy line of anime adjacent is almost impossible to discuss because like I would consider, again, like the Legend of Korra to be anime. Something like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I think, is unquestionably anime, despite having a primarily Western production
Influence,
and development. So,
well, you have to even think about it too, because like we're probably gonna end up getting into obviously like the influences and stuff, but I'm thinking back to the good old days of WB animation and like Batman Beyond, straight up anime, straight up anime. Like with what's the Bruce Timm's style to me is very anime. His style of character designs and everything has always been kind of anime, but that's because it's more angular, I guess. And I always contributed anime to being very angular. Nothing's really soft unless it's meant to be soft, like chibi stuff. And by chibi, I mean like very cutesy wootsy, like everybody, like what is it called? The super deformed. Like everybody got the big heads and like the very expressive stuff, which also is not specifically anime, but very manga influenced. That's why they do that. And because otherwise, because not all anime has that, but a lot of anime that comes from manga does that a lot because they want to keep the aesthetics of the manga, which is a weird choice.
That's a really weird choice.
That's weirdly weird. Japan specifically does that a lot. I guess their people love it, but
it's something that I really attribute to like the difficulty of transferring between mediums. And I want to be really clear that I have probably some unconventional opinions on anime, and I'm not super hot on it, just like in the broadest strokes possible. I feel like when I'm obsessed with the process of adaptation. I love talking about adaptation, what it means to adapt something from one medium to another, even if it's from a movie to a television show or from a book to a film. What does it mean to adapt from a film to a game? What does it mean to adapt from a game to a film?
That's what I was about to say.
All of those are really interesting questions, and I am invested in those answers. But when it comes to manga, I feel like the studios very often choose a very literal interpretation. They often will not change that much in the adaptation, which includes things like camera angles, which includes things like these super deformed or chibi like individual cuts or panels. And I think that they make total sense on the page. You're flipping the page, and then someone is drawn stylistically in order to play up an emotion. They're drawn in a certain way in order to lend visual contrast. And when you take that and directly translate it into animation, it can get real weird. And the vibes, like, I'm not crazy about. And it's something that's so pervasive that it's really taken for granted. But, like, there are like chibi or super deformed like expressions and poses in like fucking Berserk, and that's so weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pick a lane.
And they say no. Like they say no, we don't have to.
I know.
Which I admire that though, because it's not like people hate Berserk because of that. That's the thing. You still watch it. It's just, they're like, hey, you're going to watch it anyway. And I mean,
I would argue that people don't, in fact, watch Berserk because I think the trilogy of movies are actually, on the balance, pretty good. The first one is rough and has growing pains. By the third one, they've really worked at the visuals, and I think that it like works, and it's a good condensed version of the Golden Age arc, which is excellent shit. Extremely dark, the bleakest shit imaginable.
Duh.
If you are unfamiliar with Berserk, you know that it's the most qualified recommendation that I can possibly give.
Man,
buyer beware.
He puts that, he has a Berserk tattoo on his back. That's how much he likes the...
I do not.
Yes, he's going to get it. It's going to be elaborate. It's going to be great.
Berserk is like, it's really good in a lot of ways, and it's hugely influential. You know, already talked about Souls, but like Dark Souls is so Berserk influenced, and a lot of its ideas and its aesthetics have been taken and propagated into other things that I really like and care about. It's rough in places.
It is very rough. Yeah, it's rough and well, when it gets rough type thing. But most of the time, it's like pretty on point.
But but that is not to be said that it is without virtue. Like there is a lot of really excellent storytelling, a lot of phenomenally creative and expressive monster design. And then also some lighthearted fucking fairies that follow them around and sometimes to go into super cute weird poses that does not balance out the darkness. Like you can't just have a fairy
just put that in there and then
next looking at like this pile of children corpses and just be like, yes, tone has been balanced. I have achieved.
Hey,
I have successfully lightened the mood.
I mean, I guess that's the, like, throughout time, and by time I mean even when it was made back in the day and everything, people still have the same opinion on this particular anime of Berserk, in the fact that it almost rivals Evangelion as how dark can we actually get? How like bleak can we? I hate to use the word dark because that is so general. Like, how depressing can we actually get? That's a good word for it.
It's
type thing. Which doesn't make it bad. I'm not saying that is a bad thing, because I like Berserk too. It is extremely creative in how it tells its story. The same way I like Evangelion. It is extremely creative how it tells its story. However, I will say that I am not the bleak guy. Adam is the bleak guy. So I can only take so much of that before I'm like, all right, I get it. All right. Shinji, shut up. Just get over it. I'm tired of your shit. I'm tired. I'm done.
Berserk is not the most like hopeless or the most nihilistic series out there. Like I think there are other things that are more pessimistic in their worldview. Like there weirdly is kind of an optimism at the heart of Berserk. But when it comes to bleakness, like it is difficult for me to think of any media that's bleaker than Berserk. It's really up there. Anyways, I don't remember why I was talking about this other than chibi and super deformed.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why you were talking about it, where it can be tone breaking unless the whole series or whatever, even with movies, is like that. So it usually happens more in series.
It speaks to like a broader sense of like I find a lot of anime like very chaotic in tone, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But like I have specific memories of watching like the Hellsing anime, and then
which one, the original or the OVA?
The OVA I think is what I'm thinking of specifically, but I watched both in college. I think it would be some real try hard edgelord shit if I tried to watch it now. I don't think it would hit the same.
Yeah, but I mean that is the funny thing about it though, because I mean I guess we're gonna get into that later. But that just cracks me up though, of how far we've come and where the tone or the temperature was back then. Because it wasn't just us who liked Hellsing. It was like, it was an entire vibe of the anime community. Oh my goodness. But OVAs, OVAs are basically the remakes of the original series
just
type things.
Means kind of like here's a
updated version.
It almost just means like here's a movie.
Yeah.
Like OVA is a really broad umbrella. I think it just stands for like, what is it? Original video.
Yeah, I forget what it. Yeah, I forget what it actually stands for. I think it is like original something.
Original video animation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically just a film that's made for film and not for broadcast television, which means that they are not bound to the same, they're not holding back in the same way.
Yeah,
So if you've
basically.
got something that's going to be violent or have scintillating content, like an OVA is going to be where they're going to push that content.
Yeah. So I remember back then, like we all thought that was awesome. Like we made music videos about it, like
Yes.
in Movie Maker. It was great.
Oh boy, absolutely, like cavemen banging rocks together.
You have to start somewhere. It's like
I know.
this is great.
Yeah, woo.
I made
But,
an Avatar video about the second season. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I put that shit to like the Mortal Kombat music. Remember?
Oh, I forgot about that one. I was gonna say, you did Wonder Boy, didn't you?
Yes, I also did that too.
Tenacious D's Wonder Boy, starring Zuko and Iroh.
And Uncle Iroh. It was great. People liked it. When I showed it to people, they're like, "This is actually funny."
Yeah.
I also didn't manage to finish, but I showed you a little bit of the Macho Man music video that I made for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I had such a good time trying to do that. I forgot about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's such a good time. Such a good time.
Yeah.
Obviously, times have changed now. Like everybody's got to be like super serious about their stuff, and I'm like, oh man, guys.
I think that us in college specifically, going to anime, this was an extremely common trajectory for the animation students, where we would be studying the old masters, and it's just like, look at Pinocchio. Observe the multiplane camera. See the mastery of lighting and physics and the 12 principles of animation. And we're all there and we're like, yes, queen, slay. Like the Pinocchio in the cage of the back of Stromboli's wagon. Mwah, immaculate.
Oh man, I'm thinking about just you're thinking about you're thinking about the broader thing, like the broader composition scenes. All I'm thinking about is character animation and like the head wiggle in
it's really good.
You know, in Baloo and everything like that, or not Baloo, but Aristocats with George, or not George.
Oh, sure.
Edgar. Edgar's head wiggle all the time that he would do in a 3D space, and he would always do it, and it's the hardest thing to do ever. And I love it. Oh man.
But
so
the point
good.
is that like there would be so much of like our education that was about this classical shit, and we would then be like, all right, this is cool. This is all for children, though. Where's the adult animation? And anime was the only adult animation that was available. Like in so many ways. Like you had you had Fritz the Cat and the other like works of Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, Ralph Bakshi, who's just like he had his own thing going.
Yeah. But like if you wanted like I want a mature story, and by that I mean swearing and blood, and I want to see some like cool fight scenes and stuff, anime was the place to go. It was almost the only place to go.
Yeah.
And
there was a wide variety of it too. Because that's the thing. Like if you, I mean, it's very well known now, but back then we were so surprised when, like, every time I was like, oh, I like this though. I don't really like, you know, the swords or the ninjas and stuff like that. Oh, well, we got Cowboy Bebop for you, and we're like, wait, what? And then Sunrise just kept getting hit after hit after hit, like Cowboy Bebop. Samurai Champloo, which is like one of my personal favorites, and I'm like,
great.
I can't believe they even thought this was a thing. Why doesn't anybody else do this? Like, I love that like samurais are cool, but add hip hop to it and be unapologetic about it. And I'm like, sure, I'll take that. I'll eat that all day. And I was like, is there more stuff like this? Oh, hell yeah. You ever heard of Afro Samurai? I'm like, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
So
I maintain that the graffiti episode of Samurai Champloo is like an all-time great episode.
Oh, really? Yeah, that is very good. I mean, I can't pick my favorite out of that whole show because I love like every episode. I love something about it. And like the shots are so good and everything. And we're getting into the weeds of that kind of
now
stuff.
We're just getting to what we like and
yeah.
stuff. But like the point that I was slouching towards was that like for us in the animation school, in the animation program, like this was where you went for quote unquote grown-up animation for young kids, hip animation. Like it was the cool stuff. And now, like before, even when we were in college, where the lines were already becoming hazy and there were people debating on whether or not Avatar: The Last Airbender was
or even
anime.
Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans show.
Or, totally. Like even then the lines were hazy. And now it's just who knows. But also you don't have to go to that one well. Like now a lot of that has spread out across the entire industry. Like animation is still primarily viewed as a children's medium, but we're seeing a lot more diversity of what kind of stuff is being shown, and also just a lot more audiences being catered to. You already mentioned Intergalactic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so fucking cool that
yes, my master.
That there is
yes, my
just
master.
I think it's so cool that there is a animation that's for adults, that is about adult topics and adult themes, that is just allowed to be a rom-com. Period.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be anything else complicated. They don't have to give anyone superpers.
You don't. It doesn't have to be an isekai.
Yes,
that
it's just
biggest
there's
thing
no dragons.
There's no dragons.
It's just allowed to be small and intimate and for adults in a way that animation was not able to be. And I mean, Arcane also, like, absolutely world-class fight scenes. If you want great fight scenes, like...
Stuff that I was impressed by, and I'm not impressed by a lot of stuff in animation, especially catering to a Western audience. Mm-hmm. You know, usually they go, like, kind of mid.
Yeah.
But Arcane was on another level. This is why I always keep saying, what are the French smoking? Seriously, what are they on? Because they keep having good stuff like this a lot. Like even before this, we were talking in the green room a little bit about Doofus. That is like French anime if I ever saw it. And I remember back in the day, I used to watch stuff like that, like clips and stuff of that on like when YouTube was at its infancy and whatnot and everything. And I'm like, this is amazing. This animation is amazing. Where are they from? Oh, France, of course. So I was like, what are they doing?
The freaks at Goblins doing
I know.
degenerate shit. Shout out to Goblins, you guys.
I mean,
are incredible.
they're still doing stuff. I follow them on YouTube, and they're still their student work and everything. I'm like, well, I went to animation school for nothing. Yep.
Yeah.
I can retire now.
Point? Yeah, their work is so incredible. But whatever you used to get out of it that like felt like it was something exclusive to anime has now, those lines have blurred and it's now bled across the world in a way that I view as purely a positive thing, purely an additive thing. Like the drum that I've beat for years and years is that like animation is for everyone and everything, and I want to see it used for more things. Like I want to see more R-rated animation that is for adults, that is not edgelord shit, that is not just like we're gonna love death and robots and there's gonna be titties and blood. Like no, it can just be Intergalactic and be a small scale drama. Some
people want that. I mean, it's good. Like you said, it's for everything. So if that can exist and also something else and also this, that's what we want. We want variety, because then you could be an anime fan with other anime fans, and you all can like different things.
Totally.
And yes, that can start some shit. But mature people will be like, yeah, that's cool. Oh, I never heard of that. Let me check that out. That sounds like a cool idea. That's how I got into mech anime. Because I watched Big O when it was on Toonami, because Toonami's on another level. Toonami was just on another level.
Thank you, Toonami, for being the gateway for an entire generation, even though you introduced so many insufferable students into my animation class.
Get them out. Hey, but I mean, I completely 100% get that too. But at the same time, I'm like, my first and probably number one favorite anime of all time is Yu Yu Hakusho, which I found on Toonami. That's my show. My show means. That's my first. That's the first one I actually got into and watched the entire series. I liked the idea by it. I liked the character, even though he was an asshole, but he was also like a high school student, and I thought it was hilarious because they didn't care. I love that. And I just thought it was so cool, and I love the ending theme. Even though you shat on it, I remember years ago.
Oh, it's been so long.
Years ago, you said one specific scene in the end intro. Like, he's like, that walk cycle sucks. And I was like, yes, I know, but it's not about the walk cycle. Yeah, these are the conversations we had back in the day, too. Yes, because I would show him something cool. I was always that friend. Adam, look at this. This is so awesome. Yeah, well, that sucks. I'm like, you know what? Shut up. Why did I even come here?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for past Adam.
No,
and I'm also sorry for present Adam, because there was like a trailer for the video game Dredge, which I really like. I think that's a really cool game that does a lot with a little. And they had a trailer which featured like some animated inserts, which aren't in the final game. So it's just for the trailer. And I watch it, I'm like, I love the vibes. Like, I think the music is cool. Like, the whole thing that they're going for is great. Pretty bad walk cycle. It's got a hitch right there.
And then the game just gives you that look, the side eye of like,
yeah, just
really,
slowly
bro?
turns to me. And it's just like, that's the thing. And I'm like, sorry, I'm poisoned. It's not my fault.
that is such an Adam thing to. That never went away, and that always cracked me up. They're like, sorry. Adam has said that in that way for years, and it hasn't gone away, and I love it. Because I mean, back in the day, obviously, it was kind of insufferable, but granted, both of us were insufferable because I was excited about everything and didn't hem myself in, rein it back. And you would always tell me to chill out, dude. It's just this. And I'm like, no, this is going to change the game. You have to understand. Nowadays, I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah. I definitely calmed down too. So, yeah.
I know.
But
I'm still a real nitpicker when it comes to animation.
But that's your thing, though.
I know.
Because
it's not a great brand, is what I'm saying.
it depends on the crowd you're in or the space you're in, because I at least know what you're talking about when you nitpick that stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it, but that's not the intention, because I can actually, articulate now instead of back in the day was like, well, you suck, so you suck, so go away. Go away with your nonsense. I already know what that means, but I don't care because that's cool. Now,
I know,
I still do believe that the rule of cool is a thing, but I am also very specific about it now too, because I'm like, yeah, just because you say it's cool doesn't actually mean it's cool. So
yeah, I'm very sensitive to rule of cool nonsense, which is more common in anime than other stuff.
That's what I was. That's what I was going at.
It's by no means exclusive to it, but like, I just really feel like a sense of verisimilitude and connection with the world and characters are probably like my biggest values when it comes to media. I want it to feel like there's an internal consistency. I want it to feel like there's a logic and a follow through, which is why I maintain that minor spoiler for Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you've never seen it, bloodbending is the coolest shit that has ever been put to television. And it's not just cool because the episode is cool, which it is, but also because it was like the culmination of literally years of us theory crafting, like logically, let's talk about bending. Let's talk about the limitations of this rule set, and let's talk about the possibility space.
Oh, we did that a lot. We did
constantly.
that a lot.
And the fact that we were able to say, like, a logical extension of waterbending would be to bend the water in the body of a living thing.
Yeah.
And then to see it follow through and show up in the show and just be like it felt incredibly rewarding to have my observation validated, to feel like I had a firm enough grasp on the fiction that I was able to predict possibility space that had not been explicitly mentioned in the show. Like, I mean, to me, that's so cool.
And also that just shows good world building, in my opinion, which that's what I loved. I love really good world building. Mm-hmm. Like that's hilarious too, because speaking of anime, which can be described as an anime, is Steven Universe. And that's how usually me and Adam kind of function arc-wise, is Adam is very much what you could not stop talking about. And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying this is good because you were into this and you notice it, which means you're invested in it, which means you know what's good and what's bad when it comes to it, is the character arcs between the characters in that show. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, when I talked about it, I was like, oh, the world, I can't believe they thought of this. This is so good. I can't believe that the design is so well done. And the silhouette is so great. I love this. This is such a good upgrade. This actually makes sense as an upgrade for the character and everything. Mm-hmm. We were on the same wavelength, but on different zones, basically.
We were appreciating different facets of the same gem.
And I think that's what anime does a lot. Even when even with like a single anime, I think it tends to do that a lot. I think that's one of the biggest strengths when it comes to anime, however we define it, is there's a lot of stuff to like in one thing. Because that's how people usually get these types of, like, into a lot of these types of things. Because, like, for an example, I liked mech anime, but I was like always like the big like Gundam stuff and everything like that. I was like, okay, that's cool, and it's a lot of melodramatic nonsense and stuff, but it's still cool and everything. And then somebody mentioned one of the greatest anime, if not the greatest, supposedly greatest mech anime of all time, which is Gurren Lagann. And I was blown away by that series. I was absolutely blown away. I'm like, this is something, and I always say this, like, I don't know if this has become a catchphrase in this podcast or whatnot, but this is something I would make. It's like, It was fantastic. I was like, these characters are like cartoony enough. The style is there. The story is there. I love the story, but also they went absolutely crazy with the action. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit that I would make up. And it fits, though. It fits. And there's still an emotional story to it and everything. And I was like, if I would never have known. But that's just one example. I think the biggest example of a lot of people liking something for different reasons, and that we've had multiple conversations about this particular anime, is, I already mentioned it a little bit, but Full Metal Alchemist, both the series, the original and Brotherhood. I think a lot of people, because it's not just us who have this conversation of, just about that anime, but I think that is in my opinion, one of the biggest culminations of, many different styles and genres and stuff like that. Because it's not a samurai thing. It's very much what does it take place? Like early 1900s or something.
It's
Germany.
An alternate universe war series that it's allusions to fascist Germany, but you don't realize it until it doesn't become
later on. Yeah,
the subtext doesn't become text until quite late. But this alternate universe fantasy war series that has a tone that doesn't actually fit into what you would expect from that description.
Yeah,
it's very adventuresome.
And it is very adventuresome, and I think the tone works in its favor on some times, and then not in its favor in other times. And I think we've had not arguments, but talks about this between us, like how the tone is just weird in certain parts, or how in the two different series, one goes to one way, the original goes one way, and the second series goes another way completely.
Yeah.
And they change a lot of they add, what they add is, what they continue with the second series, which is Brotherhood. What they continue with the series, I think, is good. But what they replace from the old series, I don't think is good. And I think that's a lot of big arguments where the emotional weight is in the first series. The emotional weight is straight up. That is one of the few times that I've actually shed tears. And I'm not that kind of a person that all the time. And I'm not saying that's a horrible thing, but I just never really did that. But that is one of the few times where I was this, you know the specific episode I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody who's watched this knows the episode.
There's two famous sad parts in Full Metal Alchemist, and they're both done better in the original series.
Yes, and I 100% agree with that. However, I do think that Brotherhood finishes the series better. So, yeah. And I think that's where we kind of differ, which, I get it, but...
My tight 2 minutes on Full Metal Alchemist is that I think that the widely... I have no idea what the widely accepted opinion is because I don't...
Well, there is no widely accepted opinion because everybody has a different opinion about...
If you want to watch it, quote unquote, the best way, you watch the first series up to a certain point, up to a pivotal character's death, and then you pivot to the second series and you finish it out there.
Yeah.
However, my controversial opinion is that entirely too long, and I don't think that it ends that well. I think that the series is fully a season of television longer than it should be, and I'm very sensitive to these kind of editing and pacing issues. They really frustrate me, and so it just felt like Brotherhood was just spinning its wheels and wasting my time constantly, and then ultimately the final conclusion didn't feel that profound and didn't feel, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I was pretty cranky by the end of it. I understand that I'm in a vast minority. Tons of people put Full Metal Alchemist as their number one of all time, greatest, which is wrong in a world where Dragon Ball Z exists. But
you mean Dragon Ball? I don't even want to hear Z if you're talking about greatest.
I
want to hear
really like Dragon Ball.
See,
Dragon Ball is really fun.
Thank you. Original Dragon Ball, in my opinion, and that might be a controversial opinion, actually, because a lot of people really love Z.
Yeah.
But I'm nah, I'm sorry. I kind of grew up on Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball, in my opinion, is too tight. It's tight. It's scaled down to a perfect Goldilocks level, in my opinion. So,
and also, the power level is just manageable.
Well, that's what I mean. It's scaled down to yeah.
The thing that I complain about Dragon Ball Z all the time is, the first enemy who shows up in that show blows up a planet.
Yes.
And then it just keeps going. Where do you go from there? You already blew up a planet. Like,
Gurren Lagann is on the phone and wants to speak to you.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, though. I totally get it, which is why I say Dragon Ball, or original Dragon Ball, superior. Do I like Dragon Ball Z sometimes? Of course, the Buu Saga is awesome. But I will say that nothing tops just regular old little kid Goku running around acting like a mook.
It's great. And also the Nimbus Cloud is way more fun than just flying. Yeah. I wasn't trying to talk shit on Dragon Ball Z. I had a ton of fun with Dragon Ball Z as a kid. I was trying to go for like the most basic bitch answer where it's just like, hey, random person off the street, name any anime. And it's like,
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
Sailor Moon.
Yeah. Naruto 2.
Yeah, I mean,
Boruto.
Boruto. That's really funny considering.
But
that's one anime I'd never watched either. I'd never watched Naruto. Everybody kept telling me, "Hey, you need to."
I read some Naruto in someone's copy of Shonen Jump at a summer camp, and I thought it was the shit.
Really?
Because I was at a summer camp.
Wow.
But like as an adult, I'm not gonna muster up the energy to watch 900 episodes.
That's too
Adventures.
much.
That's too much.
That sounds like some Inuyasha shit though too, because I remember even back in the day, people were like, "Oh, Inuyasha, it's so good," and I was like, "Eh," and then I was really like,
fun.
"Eh." See, I'd rather watch Sailor Moon than watch Inuyasha. So
why you talk about it in that tone of voice? Sailor Moon fucking whips.
yeah. Because
season one of the original Sailor Moon, I maintain, is like a Power Rangers for girls masterpiece.
I mean,
like,
I mean that's
so
what I'm
fun. It's so goofy.
From what I've seen of it, yes, that is exactly what it is. But I'm not versed enough to say I'm a Sailor Moon fan because I haven't watched enough of it. But from what I've seen of it, it is straight up like Power Rangers, like Magical Girl Power Rangers. And I was like, this is actually awesome. Why is it like, but that's a whole perception of anime. Like, it's so subversive. That's another thing we can talk about is anime is so stupidly subversive because okay, my favorite anime movie is from 1989, I believe. Is it 89? No, it's not 89. It's like 1992. Whisper of the Heart. I love the shit out of that movie.
How have we gone this whole time without mentioning Studio
Ghibli? Because Studio Ghibli is an entire 30 minutes in itself. That's
for sure.
But I mean, we can get into it now, obviously. But Whisper of the Heart is my all-time favorite anime movie.
It's wonderful
because it is so delightful, and every time I watch it, I get goosebumps because I'm like, I wish I grew up in this kid zone. Which I mean, I realize I did, but then those feelings come back up. Like, it's that kind of there's no action in it. It's just straight up a love story. And it's a love story in, like, I don't know how they did this. It's the same way Wolf Children is a straight up, like, parenting, like...
Do you mean Wolf Walkers?
No, Wolf Children.
What's Wolf Children?
You never saw Wolf Children?
So.
Wolf Children is, like, very delightful, too, about just, it's like a straight up growing up movie about this woman. That's another one that's so subversive, because it's just about a woman who falls in love with a werewolf, and it's like a no big deal thing, and then he ends up passing away, spoiler alert, but, and then she has to raise these two wolf children on her own. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is so cute. Oh my goodness, this is so heartbreaking. What?
I'm genuinely gonna put that on my list. That one looks.
It's
fun.
good. It's surprisingly good because I that's another one I was recommended. It's like, dude, you got to watch this. It's actually good if you like Whisper of the Heart and movies like that, which I do. Then you got to watch this. And you know what's funny is I watched quite a bit of those types of movies that are animated, that are more dramas than anything.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that in anime, that they do that a lot more often than, now mind you, I'm trying to like rack my brain for other like more maybe Western stuff that does that or specifically animation. I'm not talking like, live action. I'm talking about animation that specifically goes that route of drama. And right now, I can't really think of anything. But I know anime does it a lot.
This is also like such a great illustration of what I was talking about, where it's just like, as animation students, it just felt like the possibility space of animation was so much wider, where you could have Dragon Ball Z as targeted towards young kids, just a wacky action adventure, and you could also have Whisper of the Heart, which is just like the smallest stakes possible slice of life first romance.
That's what it is. Slice of life. I enjoy those because that's like actually a specific anime genre, like slice of life stuff. And yeah, I echo your sentiment of I love the idea of having multiple things. And I like over the years I got way more comfortable with this, obviously, but back in the day I was always so surprised when I found that I really liked this specific movie or this specific show about this specific genre, like slice of life. I love slice of life stuff.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be there. I never thought I would be there because I was like, oh, this is just melodrama stuff. But some of this stuff is super sweet. And I was like,
it's got so much heart.
It's so much. And it feels so honest. That's what I love about it. It's like, it feels honest when it's like sometimes it does have like some straight up melodrama because like, especially with romance stuff. And I'm like, you all Japanese people, you have some straight up like, TV drama stuff. And that's what they do. It's straight up that. Like, you never loved me and you will never love this man as I love. I'm like, okay. In the rain, and they stand there, they hold that shot for literally a minute, and I'm like, I get it. Okay.
And then there's the reverse shot of the dude, and he's just like, oh, and then she runs off, and then he's like, oh, wait a minute, and then he gets like hit by a bus.
No, you forget. No, it's not like that. No, you're missing a step. He waits while she runs off, and then he's like, wait!
Oh, right. You see his hand in the rain, and then it balls into a fist. And then he runs off.
And then it's like super like, oh, wait, stop! And then when she looks back, just when he looks back, he gets hit by a bus.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
and it's in a moving hold where like his arm is outstretched and it's lingering, and there's that slight parallax in the rain, and then you see the bus coming into frame,
and then it speeds up, and then it goes right into normal speed, and then she's like, and then her hair like floats like just ever so slightly up, and then she's like,
and then she drops something, and then like her like book is like silhouetted as it like slowly floats through the air, rotating beautifully. He's fine. He just got his arm in like a cast or something. No. Shot. But the drama, the heart.
You skipped a step again because when she goes there, and then they, it starts the dramatic music. The la 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 la. La 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 da.
Whoa, what movie are we watching?
I was thinking out Your Name. It's like, that like rock anthem that they had in that movie? Yeah, so but anyway, we just did an entire anime. We did half of the genre of the thing. That's exactly what you're gonna get. And if you enjoy that, please, one, like and subscribe to us. Thank you. And also go find the Slice of Life anime and watch it, and then thank us. Totally. So because that's exactly what you're gonna get.
By the way, we have been like loosely talking about the second question, which was, is it more about the animation or the storytelling? Like, what makes anime? And I think that like we really are kind of being uncharitable, but also kind of being very accurate when we say that like anime really is like kind of a collection of tropes that are just kind of jumbled up in a different order every time. Like it feels like there are all of these beats that are so well worn that like you just know them by heart, and then any individual show kind of feels like it's just, you know, playing around with the Lego pieces, playing around with the order, playing around with the color, playing around with the intensity. But like there is such a, even if you took it to a different medium, like I feel like the anime style of storytelling still often would shine through because it's a very distinct thing. Like it feels like it has a very recognizable identity beyond just the medium, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think that what we're picking up on is really just Japanese storytelling sensibilities. You know, in the same way that, you know, you're playing a Metal Gear game and it's, Metal Gear. Yes, Snake. Don't forget to eat your grilled cheese. Grilled cheese. Like, he's not just doing, like, it's a hilarious to you know, make fun of that kind of stuff, but that's like what we're riffing on is a Japanese form of active listening, where the person who's listening repeats part of the phrase back in order to show their engagement.
Yep.
And it's a trope that's so tightly ingrained in the medium that we don't even realize that necessarily. Like when you take it into Metal Gear Solid and it doesn't look like it's Japanese animation and it takes place in the Cold War starring an American protagonist, but he's still doing these anime ass things. Like, boy, that has some real anime energy. Like it's not the medium, it's not the look, but it is the storytelling and it is those tropes and it is that way of delivering.
It's the culture. The culture permeated the art form. And that happens with every culture, but specifically a lot of the times in anime, you get that culture, because the thing is, they do this in real life. Like that is a lot of the culture of very expressive, but you have to realize how suppressed that culture is, especially for young people too. So when they let loose, and then that shows up. You wonder why there's so many salarymen anime. Like I'm dead serious. There's so many like salarymen. I was a salaryman in this world, and now I'm a I'm a superhero in the next life or something like that. It's so culturally significant to their identity of I feel like I'm this. I want to be more like One Punch Man is literally that. That is tons
of stories about, you know, societal expectations and finding individuality and or just even just being in the system, because like you know, I think about a show like Agretzko, which is you know, all about that salaryman lifestyle, you know, just about dealing with stupid bosses and inter-office relationships and not having a social life and being desperate to express yourself and to have an identity and not knowing how to find the time or how to find the venue.
And that show is extremely popular because people get it. They understand all too well. And, you know, I really enjoy that anime can do that for so many people. And like you said, like the influence is like permeating so many other things, but like there's nothing quite like the source. And for some reason, they just keep cranking out stuff that is like, oh, well, I'm into bookkeeping. You know, they have an anime for that, right? What? I'm into cooking. They have several anime for that. I'm into, I swear this is a real thing.
Yeah.
They are into, they have an anime for making a government. Like, all the boring stuff of politics. They're like, oh, they have an anime for that, you know? And they're like, they have an anime, they have several anime for just art. For artists, painters.
Sure.
Just if you like to
anime
paint.
is huge.
Oh, man. sports anime.
Can I just say, like, I don't want to derail it, but I do want to just, like, a little thing on Agretzko. There's a store in my town called World Market where they
Did you take me to that before?
I don't remember. Maybe?
Maybe. Okay, can't continue. I'm sorry.
But they've got, like, weirdo curios and occasionally some interesting ingredients for cooking in the cooking section. They also have, like, furniture and shit. It's a weird store. But they do have, like, a fairly prominent Japanese section, which has, you know, kind of the usual, like, oh, here's where you get Pocky and, you know, other weird, obscure snacks. However, they do also have weirdo energy drinks. And when I go, I do usually get an Agretzko branded can of Liquid Rage energy drink.
They actually exist.
Just because I think it's funny. I just want to have a can of Liquid Rage.
That's really funny, actually. I didn't even know that existed, but that does surprise me that it exists. So, yeah, but I mean, that's just so. I don't know why that's so heartwarming. Like, we were talking, we didn't go too much into it, but I think Studio Ghibli is so stupidly heartwarming on all fronts. Now, mind you, it's also hilarious. It's become a meme almost because, you know, the Studio Ghibli grandfather, Kao Miyazaki, is the most, like, old man you will ever old man. Like, he is...
The compare and contrast meme of Hideo Miyazaki, you know, creating beautiful, lush worlds and just, like, chain smoking and being like, everything's a piece of shit. Yeah. And then you have Junji Ito, like
the college frat boy who's like, I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, hanging out at parties and just being like, I'm gonna make the most horrifying shit you've ever seen.
I love that. I love that meme, by the way. That meme still cracks me up to this day. Like, the whole thing. Okay, here's another shout out. Another shout out to Doug. What we like to quote to ourselves all the time, like quote to each other all the time, is "Anime is a mistake." Anime was a mistake.
Yeah, that's a great.
Because he has said that before. He's like, "Anime was a mistake," and we take a drag of our cigarette. It never existed.
For the record, the official position of Halftone Takes as a podcast is that we don't believe in auteur theory, and Hayao Miyazaki, while undeniably talented, is not the only person who makes Studio Ghibli special. So,
no, he is not. Absolutely not.
Especially because no one ever talks about the co-founder of Studio Ghibli. Oh no, I totally am blanking on it. Isao Takahashi.
Okay, yeah. I know it started with either an E or an I. So
yeah. It's an I, but
it's an I, yeah.
The long I.
Also, I think his son is doing stuff too. So
Takahashi or Miyazaki?
Hayao Miyazaki's son. I think his son is doing.
Miyazaki has directed a few movies, and none of them are really worth writing home about. He did the pretty bad Earthsea.
Oh, see, I don't think Earthsea is that bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's average, but I don't think it's bad. Well, comparative to everything else. That's the thing, is it's still beautiful. It's just
sure.
It's okay.
Like in a vacuum, it approaches adequacy as like just an animated adventure film. But it is, you know, it's adapting source material that's like, what about if we made a fantasy world where, you know, it's about dark-skinned people who are seafaring, you know, on an archipelago, like, and that's the whole thing. And then it's like, our movie is going to be just, you know, a country, and there's going to be a castle, and it's going to have a bunch of white people.
Yeah, it's like, what does that mean? I get that too. I mean, if we're going to talk, okay, so we're officially into that space now, of Studio Ghibli, and we have, hilariously, I still think me and Adam have varying opinions on a lot of basically the library of films from Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, the filmography.
Yeah, the filmography. We have I didn't know we had that many varying opinions on a lot of stuff, but that is something that is very interesting that I would like to talk about. Because what was the one I saw? I shoot. It's not the 3D one. That one was actually not.
What is that? Earwig and the Witch's Curse or something like that?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to say this is bad, but
it didn't capture the vibe. It didn't capture.
No.
Like here's the thing. Like Ni no Kuni, which is a video game, captures the vibe of Ghibli better than that, I think.
I love the first Ni no Kuni. Ni no Kuni was awesome. I played the shit out of that game. But anyway, like everybody likes. Oh no, not everybody. Because you told me this one's not your favorite, but Princess Mononoke. Like you said, that's not necessarily your favorite.
It's kind of in the middle of my rankings, which is controversial.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, it is kind of for me too, actually. Now, what I didn't know is that you put Castle in the Sky in your like top, and I was like, wait a minute, no, because that's my top, that's my favorite.
I know.
Like,
we're the what is it, Commando? Like, you son of a bitch, handshake.
Oh man, that's amazing. Because I was like, because that was my reaction when I said that, and you're like, no, I love Castle in the Sky. I was like, you do? I didn't
Castle
know
in
that.
the Sky is like the best action adventure movie this side of Indiana Jones.
Oh,
like, it's
man.
so fun. It's so charming.
It's
and
so
also,
great.
It does my favorite Studio Ghibli trope. This is a trope that's exclusive. Well, not exclusive to Studio Ghibli, but like frequently shows up in Studio Ghibli, and I love it every single time, which is buff dudes getting into a fist fight, and every single punch lands. Like, it's just two people punching each other full force, square in the face,
and they smile
back
at
and
each
forth,
other.
and they're both psyched. They're into it.
Yeah, they're just like each hit, they just smile at each other and say, "Okay, all right,
yeah,
whack."
Good one, buddy. My turn. Boom. And the other guy's like,
yeah, all right,
good one, buddy.
And then
my
the entire
turn.
town erupts in a big fist fight. It is the funniest thing.
It's so good. I don't know, like that.
It's so character driven. That's what's great about it. That whole sequence is so character driven because you see it coming and you can't wait. You can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah, it's delightful. And then the finale for Porco Rosso does the same thing, and it's also
I haven't seen that movie.
Funny to me.
I haven't seen that movie in literally. I've only seen it once, and that was when I was in college. I need to watch it again because I remember liking it. I just don't. I haven't seen it in years to the point I forget a lot of it.
You'd love it.
So,
yeah, super charming.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's nothing like the Yamadas. Yeah, it's like My Neighbors the Yamadas, I think.
I love My Neighbor the Yamadas.
Yeah, that is funny. That is surprisingly funny. I didn't know I was gonna laugh that hard, but
And that's the thing, is that like when you talk about Studio Ghibli, so many people are just like, oh yeah, of course, My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away,
House Moving Castle. Yeah.
Maybe you get a Kiki's Delivery Service thrown in there.
Oh man,
but like, there are some weirdo members of the Ghibli catalog that like almost never get talked about.
Let's talk about Paul Poco.
Oh, okay. Absolutely rock bottom of my Ghibli rankings. I can conceptually understand why it's a movie that would be important to someone and could resonate with them, but it's so inside baseball for Japanese culture that like I just do not have fun with it.
I mean, I'm making a joke because we talked about this on length before, but I saw that, and Adam just gets cringe whenever I mention that. He's like, "Don't stop."
It's rough stuff.
But yeah,
like that. We're talking about basically. And again, I find this to be a shame. Like, the obscure ones that we're talking about are basically the collective works of Isao Takahata, who does not get nearly the recognition. And I think it's largely because he doesn't do crowd pleasers in the same way
no,
that
he does not.
Does.
No, he does not.
No one's going to call Grave of the Fireflies a crowd pleaser.
I'm like, resisting the urge to just go on like an entire rant about Grave of the Fireflies and how it should be required watching in cinema classes and filmography classes. It should be.
It's an important film. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a fun.
It's
film.
not. I was about to say it's not fun. I heard it described like this. I don't know if you will get this reference from somewhere, but I heard it described. That movie is described as this movie, Grave of the Fireflies, is about watching a 9-year-old die slowly,
very slowly,
very slowly, and it's like, how does that sound to you? It sounds like a good time, right? And I'm like, oh man, oh man.
But like, you know, Takahata's filmography like just continues to be all of these real weird movies. I think that The Tale of the Princess Kaguya is
I've only seen that one
special.
Too. It's very good.
It's so visually striking. Takahata clearly has a passion for playing with the medium in a way that I'm constantly talking about. I'm talking about, you know, Spider-Verse finally allowed us to get weird. And Takahata's been doing this
he's
whole
been doing
time.
this forever.
Yeah, My Neighbor the Yamadas is based off of a newspaper comic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a strip.
It looks like a newspaper comic for the vast majority of it. It's very simple. It's very cartoony, but it plays with the medium. And then The Tale of the Princess Kaguya is done in this gorgeous watercolor, like traditional Japanese watercolor style, where everything's very hazy and very loose. You know, Okami is kind of riffing off like slightly the same vibe if you're unfamiliar with it. And it looks incredible, and it's just very unconventional. It's adapting, you know, a folklore story. Mythology is probably a better word than folklore.
Yeah.
But as a result, like, it's not really trying to be a modern film. It's not a 3-act structure. It doesn't have character arcs the way that we're, you know, it is trying to adapt something more specific and something that's less broadly appealing. And it's really special because of that. Like, it's not my favorite movie necessarily, but I think it is really good and important. And it doesn't get talked about. I almost never hear someone talk about The Tale of the Princess Kaguya.
I'm sure. Oh, that's what it's called. Another one, it's not by Miyazaki. But another movie that reminds me of that it's produced by MAPPA, is In This Corner of the World, which is a very, like, it's a wartime film. But that movie is gorgeous too, because you don't even, it like I said, it's another subvert of expectations, because it's drawn very cartoony, but it's about World War II. And I'm like, it has some rough stuff in that movie, but I think it's, like, for what it does, it is extremely lovely. And I'm like, oh man, more of this. And like I said, I circle back to something like Kiki's Delivery Service, which is the most delightful children's film. It is so unbelievably cute. And just, you know, I don't know if I would say joyful, but it's definitely like,
well, like it's really special in ways that, like, again, I don't feel gets roped into the popular conversation about it, because when people talk about it, they talk about how cute it is and how charming it is. But it's like, think about a low stakes animated movie that's here, you know, in Western animation.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, something like Sing, where it's just like, oh, it's about a music concert or something. It's about believing in yourself and following your dreams. And it's just like, Kiki's Delivery Service. It's about burnout. It's about pushing yourself too hard, and everything fucking sucks, and it feels awful, and you don't know what's wrong with yourself, and you can't force yourself to feel better, and you don't know what to do about it. Well, and it's just like, what a unique thing for a movie to be about, for a kid's movie to be about.
Yeah, well, here's the thing that I want to say, that to add to that is, yes, it's about burnout, but it's about burnout as a kid. It's about a growing, because there's a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff, like including, like I said, my favorite, which is Whisper of the Heart. Whisper of the Heart is literally about following your dreams and how hard that is as a kid, and being compared to everybody else around you, especially somebody that you like, and they're like, he's so much more accomplished than I am. I will never catch up. And I felt that way as a kid. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Adam is so much like better at this than I am. What am I supposed to do? I can't catch up, type thing. And like you said with the other, with Kiki's Delivery Service, there's so much stuff that fits into the growing up, like what is it called? It's not called a growing up genre. It's called
coming of age. Coming of age stories.
I love coming of age stories. A lot of Studio Ghibli movies are coming of age stories. Their most famous, probably their most famous one is literally a coming of age story. What you call it? Spirited Away. Coming of age story. Yeah. And it's just, it's crazy that a lot of stories can be told in that specific space of coming of age. And to me, those seem to be the best character-wise and feel-wise. Those get the most emotions out of people, from what I can tell. Those, like, literally tear out your emotions. And they seem like nothing. For example, my Neighbor Totoro. The Totoro movie that everybody's like, oh, it's so cute. That's definitely about, like, what was it? Like, that one scene where they're trying to find the little sister.
Yeah.
And they're freaking out about it, and she's just sad about her mom. And I was like, oh, man, you don't have to do this.
Like, like something that comes up constantly is like these young kids being put into these situations or feeling these emotions and them not having the words for it, for them not understanding what they're going through. And it's frequently heartbreaking to watch, these young people in these shows struggle through these things, and it's just so relatable.
And I'm sorry, keep going.
Like My Neighbor Totoro, like the primary conflict is that their mom is sick and they don't know what to do with themselves, and they're in a new place and like they're distracting themselves, but it just like kind of hangs over their head as this, it's hard, like the art is beautiful and we're doing all this stuff, but like, I don't know. My mom is still sick. Like a cat bus can't fix that. And I don't know what to do about that. And I don't know what to do with myself. And I don't know how to react to it.
And to also add to that is the reaction from everyone around them. That is super important as well. Mm-hmm. The dad in that movie is one of the sweetest dads I've ever seen in my life.
Great dad.
And I love my dad. I love my dad. Mm-hmm. But like that dad is so understanding. He gets that his kids, his two little girls, are having a bad time because he's having a bad time. And it's just like they're all in this together, because that's what the movie is essentially about. We're all here. We're all together type thing. And I'm like, that is so sweet. It's the same thing with with like most of the movies, but I was gonna say with I keep going back to this movie of Whisper of the Heart. The old man in that movie, I wish he was my granddad. Because like
just general shout out to all Studio Ghibli cool old people. Whether it's Mama from from Laputa, whether it's the great old woman who makes the fish pies and Kiki's Delivery Service, like, oh man, God, if you want a movie with like a sweet old person in it, like Studio Ghibli will hook you up.
Who does not take no shit, but they are so lovable. You could tell, like Mama, for example. I love that movie. That's my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, next to The Whisper of the Heart. But she loves her kids, but she also knows that they're idiots, but she loves her kids.
Yeah. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, man. But anyway, yeah, it's we got a little bit more time. So what do you want to talk about now? You want to talk just about Cowboy Bebop? Because that's
Sure. So the three questions that you put in the outline that I feel like we have adequately addressed is, what even is anime anyways? And the answer is, it's mostly hazy.
It's a lot. That's what you can say. It's a lot.
Yeah. Is it more about the animation or storytelling? Of course, the answer is it's both. And then, what did it mean for us when we were young animation students and for our peers? Like, so I feel like we did like a pretty great job of addressing the topic questions. So well done us. This chaotic conversation.
Yay,
actually,
we did it. We did it.
The thing.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to just spend a couple minutes talking about some of our favorite
fanboying.
stuff.
Just fanboying about stuff.
I do also just want to shout out Your Name and Weathering with You, that director.
Still haven't seen Weathering with You, man. I need to watch it. I love Your Name. I
really
love Your
sweet,
Name.
Just very sweet, like young love stuff, and like I'm really a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Oh no,
like
I am too, man. Which is why
I know.
Which is why 5 centimeters per second pissed me off, because I hate that shit. When it's like it's bittersweet, but on the negative side. If you ever watched that, I was like, ooh, that makes me so mad, man. You just turn around, man. Turn around. I hate that shit.
See, my version of that cranky feeling is Up on Poppy Hill, which is like, it's so sweet and it's so good. And also it has a you can date your cousin subplot that really sucks.
You had to do that.
You were so fucking close. Don't do that.
See, we can kind of talk about what our pet peeves are in that, because I can go straight to it was earlier, but we were talking about what we don't like in anime series, and I love Soul Eater series. Like 99% of that series is awesome until the very end, and I was like, well, I'm officially pissed off. I don't like this at all. I don't like this. All that for nothing. It's like one of those things. All that for he's like, the real word is courage. And she looked at the camera, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Don't end on this. Credits roll. I can't believe this. I can't believe you've done this. So I'm like, okay, all right.
You just look at the TV and you go, shut up.
You shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but talk about good stuff though.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned already Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, to a lesser extent Space Dandy, which is 2 seasons long. Yeah. And I think that director really shines with single season shows because it is a little bit too long. Again, I'm very sensitive to pacing issues. But at the same time, it's got some real hilarious episodes. There's some very high highs in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What about the one after that? The Something in Tuesday?
Carol and Tuesday.
Carol and Tuesday.
Yeah. I tried to watch it. I kind of bounced off. I don't really know if it's good. Yeah.
I like it. It's not as it's very much subdued. And especially if you like music, it's very much subdued. And I thought it was lovely. It's not like, oh man, Samurai Champloo pumps me up. It's very much like, oh, this is something to kind of have on and just listen to, and the theme song is a bop, and I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah. So that's the thing about Sunrise. The theme songs and the music in all of them are like basically on point, like almost 100% of the time. So
yeah. For recent stuff, I thought Cyberpunk Edge Runners was quite good.
It's very good. Surprising. I thought it was going to be trash, but I was like, wow, this is actually good.
Yeah, it really exceeded my expectations, and I think did a good job with a bittersweet story, emphasis on the bitter.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But I knew it was coming. If you know how the game goes, like you know it's coming.
Yeah, it's cyberpunk. Like it's not
It's not gonna be a
you
happy
don't get
ending.
happy endings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it really was quite good, and
Yeah.
again, really strong animation and silhouettes. Studio Trigger, consistently does good work though, so that's no surprise.
It's okay. I want to comment on this, and you're probably going to be surprised by this comment. I'm not going to go on a huge rant, but Studio Trigger does good work. Studio Trigger, not so good storytelling all the time.
I mean, look, the eternal battle, like, when I say Studio Trigger does good work with the visuals and the action, like, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like, I'm not particularly invested in watching a, Kill la Kill or something of the sort.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one I bounced off of. I tried to watch Kill la Kill, and I was like, this is kind of not my thing. And people were into that shit when it was out. I'm like,
Yeah. It's
so,
and also it just sets off my horny alarms. Like this is
is that what you call it?
Tropes, right? But not the good kind of horny alarms that you want to go off. Like I've talked about this before. As a fan, I do not want to be serviced ever. Do not service me as a fan, and especially just showing off some tits is not fan service to me.
He needs stronger
really
stuff.
Bothers me. Not because I'm a prude. I can like
I said, he needs stronger stuff.
I just like what happens all the time is it feels like you're in the middle of like, oh, here's this anime that's about World War II, and then someone just like leans over and then shows their underwear,
right in the, yeah.
and it's like, what
really?
the fuck?
Really?
Pick a lane.
Yeah.
It's more about that matter of like me desiring an internal consistency,
it's
and a tonal
tone.
consistency.
Yeah, it's a tonal thing, which I completely agree with. If you're gonna go full on, then do that. But
sure,
don't just flash something and then be like,
yeah. Again, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, pretty horny show. People do be fucking in that show.
But it's like throughout. It's the entire time. Well, not the entire time, but a lot of the time.
But also, it just, like, it makes sense in context, where it's like, people are going to be sexy to each other because they are sexually attracted to each other. And it's for the characters, not for the camera. And I'm very sensitive to the gaze of the camera. I already talked about Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid 5 was my breaking point with Kojima.
Yeah, you told me about this.
It was like this went from being a problem to being unacceptable with the character of Quiet, where it's not just the fact that she's scantily clad in a way that doesn't make sense even within the fiction of the world.
No, it doesn't. Let's not even go there because people will make that excuse, and I'm like, I've said that where it's like, nah, you can't convince me of that, man.
Yeah, first of all, you have complete creative control over the world. Anything can be anything that you want it to be. Do not give me bullshit that this character is designed in any way other than for your specific fetish. That's flatly false, and I will not truck with that kind of nonsense. But also, the gaze of the camera during that, a lot of those cutscenes, including a scene of sexual assault, and the camera... Not the characters, not the world. The camera is still trying to show me off her great titties. That fucking sucks. And I mean, that was it. That was the end of my relationship with Kojima. Sorry.
Oh, you don't have to be sorry. You don't have to be sorry. This is not the first time he has done something like this, and it probably won't be the last because he's still doing his own thing. And while the guy, I will say that he is, talented, he knows how to build stuff, but he's also weird. He has some problems. He has some issues. And depending on how you take that, because while I enjoy the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5, I love the open world aesthetic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I enjoyed that immensely.
Really fun to play.
But I understand his Adam's sentiment of, okay, that was unnecessary. Okay, you're doing it again. Okay, come on, man. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It is a consistent problem beyond any one specific issue. It
Yeah.
just is pervasive. And once you notice it, you can't stop
Yeah,
noticing it.
exactly.
And it sucks.
And then then it sucks because now it's everywhere. And it's just like, oh man, come
and
on,
it's
man.
always been true. And it's in all of his games.
It's
and
in all of his games.
Yeah. And I'm not going to pass judgment on anyone else, and I'm not telling anyone else that they can't enjoy it, but for me, that was really clearly the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, and that's gonna happen.
Extend that to all anime. Don't do it. I don't
don't
like it.
I don't want it.
It bums me out.
We do not want it. Yeah, and that's understandable because I have those types of things too, where gratuitous, a lot of stuff. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of. I couldn't really, well, cause I guess I'm kind of in that way too, of like unless it services like the actual tone, I'm not a big fan of like immensely sexual stuff either. And I'm like, it just feels wrong. Like to just constantly be like, okay, this is in my face again and all this stuff for no reason. Like, cause obviously I'm not a prude either. Like I've seen everything and I don't care. However, I also don't go out and see and be like, yes, I watched this anime specifically for this. Only this.
So weird.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it feels weird. And
I don't want to just I don't want to have like a low level sprinkling of horny on my media. Like that doesn't improve it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like this is not purely an anime thing. The same complaint has been made against Game of Thrones, as well as a bunch of other HBO shit.
I was going to say just HBO in general loves to do that shit, even if it's something normal. Like you just have to do it. You just have to. And I'm like, really? You have to? And we're like, we have to.
We got a legal mandate for titties.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. And it's not, I mean, this is just me and my personal hangups, and I'm not talking about anime anymore. I just want every part of the story to service the story. And I don't want any part of the story to service the audience. Like, I can be hyped about what's going on in the story because of the story. You don't need to do it you don't need to break the fourth wall in order to give me, the audience member, what you think that I want. And that's just kind of flatly true across the board. It's about contributing to the whole. I just want my media to have focus and to be building towards something greater.
Ooh, let's end on this this is a good reason why you and me feel some type of way about one of the most popular anime that's been out in the last couple years, Attack on Titan.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool on it.
Yep, I became cool on it. I was hyped in the beginning. I do like the stuff in in the city. I mean, in the beginning stuff, that was pure hype. And I was like, if this anime is the entire time of just hunting these things in different ways and in different they're figuring out how to do these things, especially when they start getting the Titans start getting smarter, and you're like, oh, how are they gonna take this guy down? Oh, how are they gonna do this? But then it started getting weird, and I was like, oh, this is where we're going. All right.
Attack on Titan was a greatest hits of things that I don't like in anime. It's got everyone is here. It's got your character who's only defined by the fact that they like a specific food. Check, bread girl. We see you.
Isn't
the
there
only
a
thing you
potato
care
girl?
about? Or potato girl.
Yeah, I
fucking
think it was,
whatever.
yeah.
Same thing.
Damn.
Not a character. Not a character.
Damn.
It's got 12-year-old prodigy who's the best who's ever been. All right, cool. Way to go.
That is straight up Sword Art Online, though, unfortunately. Which, it had a good premise in, the first couple episodes, and then it became that. And I was like, okay, this is kind of not fair and also not fun because Kirito can do everything. And I'm right.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online fans, I'm right. This is not good. It's not good character design. Don't look at me like this.
And I chafe against that trope everywhere it's found. I'm looking at you, the name of the wind. Quoth? You fucking suck.
Jeez. But also that's also really funny because it's also you get Pokemon. So
that kid trained for 20 years to fucking win the
no,
championship.
I'm not talking
Give
about
him a
him.
medal.
I'm not talking about Ash. I'm talking about the true World Warrior. I'm talking about the true champion. I'm talking about Gary motherfucking Oak.
Gary motherfucking Oak.
That's who I'm talking about. Gary is still a pimp. Even to this day, he's still a pimp. Gary Oak is a pimp. And I will forever say that.
And he got hoes.
Yeah.
Faux show.
I mean, there's the classic scene. In the show, he has cheerleaders. Like, he's like, yeah, thank you. Anyway.
Anyways, complaining about Attack on Titan. It's got totally pointless, unnecessary violence that doesn't really serve the story. It's got weird, lecherous old guys who also don't really serve the story. It's got absolutely the pits editing and pacing. I have very specific memories of watching a scene where it's just like, oh, we've captured you, but we don't know if you're on our side or not. And then one character's like, I'm going to salute the biggest salute that's ever been. I'm going to salute so hard that you'll have to believe us. And then it's genuinely like 5 real actual world minutes of this guy talking about how he's going to salute so hard that everyone's going to have to believe him. And I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here?
Why am I doing this?
This is awful. And
what
also,
are we doing?
It does not help that I genuinely went into the show thinking that it was a 1-season self-contained story.
I thought it was. I thought it was too, to be honest.
Yeah. I got to the second to last episode, and I was just like, this isn't wrapping up. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. I rage quit that show on the finale. I was just like, no, I'm done. I don't want to watch this. I'm over this.
Jeez, man. But at the same time, you have way less of a tolerance for that stuff than I do.
I know.
Like you know what you like. You lick something. I mean, you don't even have to lick it. You smell it, and you're like, oh, disgusting. I have to lick it. I have to lick it. I have to like touch it, and I'm like, this tastes good. Oh, it's garbage. Oh.
You want a really good barometer of whether or not I will like an anime? You just look at the episode count.
Oh, you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
26 is the sweet spot. So
like 26 or less, and I can be persuaded. I thought Modica Magica was pretty good as like a weird subversion of the magical girl genre. Then I found out that they made like 5 movies.
They made 5 different things.
What the fuck are you talking about? No, it's a self-contained story.
No, I think there's another show on it too. I think there's another show. No,
fucking sucks.
There's another show too. I'm pretty sure.
Let it die. Like, have the courage to have self-contained stuff that just knows when to end.
Yeah, like Powerpuff Girls Z.
Like Powerpuff Girls Z. Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Finally, someone talking fucking sense. Anyways, this has been Halftone Takes you have been listening to. Please vote for us on podcast subscribers. Go to Apple Podcasts and say, yes, please.
Okay. Awkward take.
This has been Halftone Takes. If you have enjoyed the show, please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or wherever else podcasts are rated. If you have any questions, comments, or a suggestion for a topic that you'd like to hear, send us an email at halftonetakes@gmail.com. I have been Adam Bucheri. I'm an animator, game designer, and hater. You can find my tabletop games on boocherry.itch.io. That is boo like ghost, cherry like fruit.
And I have been Corey Revis, illustrator and comic creator, and also lover. You can find me on Instagram at EARTHUR_1. That's Earther1.
This has been fun. Good chat. Have we come closer to the truth? Have we tapped into the cosmic knowledge that is beyond our ken? No, I don't think so. But it is useful for us to just like talk around a subject like this because it is so big and encompassing that it really is hard to talk about. Like,
well, it's hard to talk. It's hard to talk about broadly, but it's easy to talk about specifically, and that's odd.
Yeah.
That's a very genre unique thing, but that's cool. Now you have an understanding of how we feel about the animes.
Yeah. And also, if you've enjoyed listening to me talk about stuff, I've also been guesting on some other podcasts recently. So maybe go check out...
Like a mouse.
Maybe go check out Jala-chan's Place, which is a fabulous little podcast where I have episodes where I talk both about Who Framed Roger Rabbit and also the Dick Tracy movie. And folks, that is a miracle. Like, what a movie.
That sounds delicious.
You can also find a couple of episodes where I talk about video games if you want. Check me out on Tales from the Backlog, where I talk about Shadow of the Colossus, and then also just recently come out the Resident Evil 4 remake.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's a long one. That's 3.5 hours.
You can do it. It's child's play to you. And if you want to hear me on anything else, I am not on anything else because I'm pretty much a lame-o. So.
Get on my fucking level, Corey.
Boo this man! I don't know why fanboy Palpatine is so funny now. I don't know why it's so funny.
Stupid bit. I can't believe that I now have 2 bits about Palpatine because I have fanboy Palpatine and also Jersey Palpatine.
I never heard Jersey Palpatine.
It's just Palpatine with a New Jersey accent.
That's really funny.
Stupid. Real dumb. Was popular for a while. Where I would just do like random bits with him, and then I got sick of him, so I killed him. We're just at the office, and I'm doing my bit, and it's like, oh no, I'm getting thrown into the reactor. Sorry guys, Jersey Palpatine died. He's never gonna show up again. And then Star Wars Episode 9, Return of Skywalker, shows up. It's just like, guys, I got bad news. Somehow Jersey Palpatine returned.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.